Welcome to Communicate to Lead, the podcast that empowers leaders and aspiring leaders to communicate with clarity and impact. I'm Keely Belton, CEO and successful entrepreneur, and your host for today. I'm here to equip you with all the essential tools and strategies to master effective communication and lead your team to success. As the founder and CEO of The Tailored Approach, my goal is to empower you to be the best leader you can be. So sit back, relax, and join me in today's episode as we dive into the art of communicating like a true leader. I've been working my tail off for 2 years, staying late, taking on extra projects, being the team player everyone loves. But when promotion time came around, they gave it to someone who had been there half as long as I have. What am I doing wrong? If you just felt your stomach drop because this sounds like your life, then you're exactly who I need to talk to today. Hey there, welcome back to Communicate to Lead. I'm your host, Keely Belton, and I decided to record this episode because I'm tired of watching brilliant women get passed over while watching less qualified colleagues climb the ladder faster. Those words I just shared, they came from a conversation I had last week with a former client. Let's call her Sandra. And her story broke my heart because it's happening to so many women right now. Here's the brutal truth that nobody wants to tell you. The reason you are not getting promoted has nothing to do with how hard you are working. You're probably already working harder than people getting ahead of you. The problem is that you're working hard in the wrong areas. While you've been perfecting your spreadsheets and staying late to finish projects, other people have been playing a completely different game. And today, I'm going to show you exactly what game they are playing and how you can start playing to win too. Here's what's actually happening in workplaces right now. Promotions are going to people who understand that advancement isn't about being the best worker. It's about being seen as the best leader. Think about it this way. You have been training for a swimming competition, but everyone else is playing water polo. Same pool, completely different game, totally different rules. So grab a pen and paper because I'm about to expose exactly why your hard work isn't translating into career advancement. And more importantly, what you can do about it starting this week. I'm going to walk you through 5 specific areas where promotions are won or lost. These aren't the obvious things like work harder or be more qualified. These are the behind the scenes dynamics that actually determine who gets ahead. And I'm going to be brutally honest. Yep, so get ready for it about what's really happening in your workplace right now. Let's start with the most frustrating one. Area 1, you are invisible while less qualified people get promoted. You, my friend, are doing incredible work, but somehow you are invisible when promotion decisions are made. Here is what's happening. While you are heads down perfecting your work, other people are making sure the right people know about their contributions. They are not necessarily better at their work or their job. They are better at being visible. So let me ask you this. Last month, did your manager mention your accomplishments in a leadership meeting? Do senior leaders outside your department know your name and what you do? If you don't know the answer to these questions, you are probably invisible. I had a client who knew that her manager had been taking credit for her ideas in leadership meetings for over a year. She was the brain behind major improvements, but leadership thought it was all her manager's work. She felt helpless about it until we started working together. When promotion time came, guess who got the recognition this time around? So here's exactly what you need to start doing. Step 1, start what I call strategic credit claiming. Every time you complete something significant, document it in an email to your manager. And you could say something like, "Hi, manager, I wanted to update you that the Johnson project delivered a 15% increase in client satisfaction. The new feedback system we implemented is now being considered for other accounts." But here is the harsh reality. Many managers won't advocate for you the way you need them to. If you are documenting your wins and your manager is not sharing them up the chain, that's valuable information. You need backup visibility strategies. That means You need to create your own visibility. Volunteer to present your own results. Here is what you could say. I'd love to share the Johnson Project outcomes at the next leadership meeting. Work on cross-functional projects where you can update other departments directly. And start building relationships with your manager's manager so you can share updates during informal conversation. Because here's what I learned. If you are waiting for your manager to be your champion, you might be waiting forever. Step 2, volunteer for cross-departmental projects. These are your visibility gold mines. When you are working on something that multiple leaders will see, you are expanding your network of people who know your capabilities. But here's the key. Don't wait for these opportunities to be announced. Pay attention to challenges that other departments are facing and proactively offer your expertise. If marketing is struggling with lead quality and you have data analysis skills, consider volunteering to help. If operations is implementing new software and you have change management experience, raise your hand. And once you are working on these projects, ensure that your contributions are visible. Don't simply do the work. Communicate progress updates, share insights at project meetings, and follow up on outcomes. You want people to think, we need someone like her for the next initiative. Step 3, speak up in meetings like your career depends on it, because it does. Don't wait to be asked. When your manager mentions a challenge, be the person who says, I've been thinking about that too, and here's what I'm seeing. You need to sound like a strategic thinker, not just someone who executes tasks. But it's not just about talking more. It's about contributing strategically. Come prepared with insights, not merely updates. Instead of saying the project is on track, say the project is on track and I'm noticing a pattern in the client feedback that could inform our approach to the next phase. Ask questions that demonstrate business thinking. How does this align with our Q3 priorities? Or what's the potential impact on customer retention? And when others are brainstorming, build on ideas with phrases like, that's a strong approach, and we could amplify it by doing the following. This positions you as someone who thinks beyond your immediate responsibilities. Here's how you start. This week, identify one meeting where you can share a strategic insight and one project where you can make your contributions visible to people outside your immediate team. For the meeting, look for moments where you can connect your work to bigger business outcomes or offer a perspective that others might miss. For project visibility, it could be as simple as sending a progress update that includes other stakeholders or volunteering to present the results at a team meeting. Start small, but start this week. That was area 1. Here's area number 2. You are seen as a worker bee, not leadership material. I know this one hits hard because you might be getting excellent performance reviews while being completely overlooked for leadership roles. Here is what might be happening. You are so focused on doing your work perfectly that you are not demonstrating leadership qualities. Meanwhile, other people are speaking up and acting like leaders before they get the title. And here's what they don't tell you. Leadership isn't about having all the answers. It's about how you communicate, how you influence, and how you handle challenges. If you are waiting until you get promoted to start acting like a leader, you are going to keep waiting. I worked with someone, let's call her Maria, who was the most competent person on her team, but spoke so quietly in meetings that people literally couldn't hear her ideas. Meanwhile, a colleague who was newer and less experienced was leading discussions and getting noticed. I think you can guess who got promoted a year later. What leaders do differently. Here's what you need to keep in mind. Step 1, they disagree professionally. They don't just nod along. They say things like, I appreciate that perspective, and I'm wondering if we've considered this approach. They push thinking forward. Practice this by preparing one thoughtful question or alternative viewpoint before every meeting. Step 2, they use what I call leadership language. Instead of, I think maybe we could, they say, I recommend we do the following. Instead of, this might not work, but they say something like, here's what I'm seeing and here's what I propose. Notice how the second version sounds confident and decisive. That's the difference between worker bee language and leadership language. Step 3, they make decisions and take ownership. When something goes wrong, they don't hide. They say, here's what happened, here's what I learned, and here's how we are going to prevent this going forward. They turn problems into learning opportunities and demonstrate accountability. Most importantly, step 4, they help other people succeed. They are not only individual contributors, they make everyone around them better. They share knowledge, make introductions, and advocate for their teams. This is how you build the reputation of someone who should be leading a team. Here's what I recommend. Choose one meeting this week where you will practice disagreeing professionally or making a recommendation using confident language. Before the meeting, prepare one alternative perspective or strong recommendation using decisive, clear, plain language. Pay attention to your body language too. Sit up straight, make eye contact, and speak clearly enough that people in the back of the room can hear you. You want people to think, wow, she sounds like leadership material, not she has good ideas but lacks executive presence. Moving on to area number 3, decisions happen in conversations you are not part of. This is probably the one that keeps me up the most at night because it's so common and so fixable. Yet most women don't realize it's happening. And if you heard my episode 109, How to Get Promoted, the Scout Method for Finding Hidden Career Opportunities, this is where the C for connections becomes absolutely critical. And if you haven't listened to episode 109, go check it out because you will find something that you can use today to help you find those hidden career opportunities. Okay, let's get back to what we're discussing today. Area 3, decisions happening in conversations you are not part of. The reality is that most promotion decisions aren't made in formal review processes. They are made in informal conversations between leaders who trust each other's opinions. If you are not part of that network, you are not part of those conversations. Let me give you an example. Your manager mentions to their peer that they need someone for a new role. That peer says, oh, you should talk to Sarah. She's been handling similar challenges in my department. Sarah gets the conversation that leads to the opportunity. You didn't even know that opportunity existed in the first place. I had a client who was constantly frustrated because opportunities seemed to appear seemingly out of nowhere for other people. When we mapped her internal network, we discovered that she was only known by her immediate team. 6 months of intentional relationship building later, she was being recommended for opportunities she didn't even apply for. Isn't that magical? So how do you get into those conversations? Step 1, build relationships at 3 levels. Start with peers in other departments. They are your early warning signal because they hear about changes, challenges, and opportunities in their areas before those issues become company-wide initiatives. If your connection in sales mentions they are struggling with lead qualification, that might signal a future need for marketing automation roles. Step 2, connect with leaders one level up. These are people who have decision-making authority and visibility into strategic planning. They are often in the room where promotional decisions are discussed and can advocate for you when opportunities arise. The key is having genuine conversations about their challenges and the business, not asking for favors. Step 3, develop relationships with people in support functions like HR, finance, operations, and IT. These connections are gold mines for early opportunity intelligence because they are involved in structural, strategic changes before anyone else. HR knows about new role approvals. Finance knows about budget allocations. IT knows about technology initiatives that often require new leadership roles. Step 4, be genuinely helpful to others. When someone mentions a challenge, connect them with a resource or people who can help them. Make introductions, share useful articles or insights. Become known as someone who adds value to every conversation, not someone who only reaches out when they need something. And finally, step 5, show up to optional events. Those voluntary company gatherings, lunch and learns, and cross-departmental meetings, not optional if you want to advance. That's where relationships are built, information is shared, and people get to know you beyond your job title. I call this strategic socialization. You are not simply networking, you are becoming a known entity across the entire organization. Here's where you can start. Identify 3 people in your organization whom you want to or whom you think you should have stronger relationships with, and reach out to one of them this week. When you reach out, don't ask for anything. Instead, offer value or express genuine interest in their work. You might say, I've been thinking about the challenges your team mentioned in the last all-hands meeting, and I'd love to learn more about your perspective. Or, I came across this article about their area of expertise and thought you might find it interesting. The goal is to start a relationship, not to get something immediately. Area number 4, you're stuck doing busy work while others get strategic projects. This is where good employees get trapped while future leaders break free. And here's the trap. You're so reliable at completing tasks that you become the go-to person for execution, while other people are positioning themselves as strategic thinkers who get the high visibility, career advancing projects. It becomes a vicious cycle. You are so good at your job, so you keep getting more of the same work. Meanwhile, someone else volunteers for the cross-functional project that puts them in front of senior leadership. Let me show you the pattern that keeps you stuck. Number 1, you wait for assignments instead of proposed solutions. While you are waiting to be told what to do, someone else is walking into your manager's office saying, I've been thinking about the customer retention issue, and here's what I propose we try. 2, you see problems and report them instead of fixing them. You notice that the monthly reports are always late, so you mention it in a meeting. Meanwhile, someone else not only mentions the problem, but they come up with a solution. I've researched project management tools that could streamline our reporting process. Number 3, you think about your department instead of the entire business. You're focused on making your team's processes better, while others are asking, how does this impact our competitive position? Or what does this mean for our customer satisfaction? And finally, number 4, you complete tasks instead of anticipate needs. You execute what's assigned perfectly, but you're not thinking 3 steps ahead to what challenges your manager will face next quarter. I worked with a woman who transformed her entire career trajectory by becoming the person who solved problems before they even became urgent. Instead of waiting for her manager to assign projects, she'd identify challenges early and propose solutions. Within a year, she went from simply being the one who was completing work to being a strategic team lead. So how do you break free from this trap? Step 1, start bringing solutions, not just problems. When you notice something isn't working, don't mention it. Become the person who fixes it. Research options, think through implications, and present recommendations. Step 2, volunteer for cross-departmental projects or initiatives that involve senior leadership. These are your strategic showcases, opportunities to demonstrate that you can think beyond your daily tasks. When someone mentions a company-wide initiative, raise your hand. When there's a cross-functional committee forming, volunteer to participate. Step 3, ask strategic questions in meetings. Stop asking, when is this due? And start asking, how does this support our quarterly goals? What's the business impact we're expecting? How will this affect our customers? These questions position you as someone who thinks strategically, not just tactically. And step 4, anticipate your manager's needs before they ask. Pay attention to the challenges they are facing and the pressure they are under. What deadlines are they worried about? What problems keep coming up in leadership meetings? Then proactively offer solutions. This is how you become indispensable, not because you execute perfectly, but because you make their job easier. Here's one action you can take. This week, identify one challenge you've noticed and prepare a solution to discuss with your manager. But don't simply identify the problem. Choose something that affects productivity, customer experience, or business outcomes. Do your work, research potential solutions, consider the costs and benefits, and think through implementation steps. Then, schedule a meeting with your manager to present it as a business case rather than simply a complaint. You want your manager to think she sees problems and solves them, not she's good at pointing out what's wrong. And finally, area 5, you are siloed while others understand the big picture. This is what actually separates individual contributors from leaders, and most people never figure this out. But here's the thing, you know your job really well, but you don't understand how your work fits in the bigger business strategy. Meanwhile, other people are connecting their contributions to business outcomes and speaking the language of leadership. The reality is that you can't get promoted into leadership if you don't understand how the business actually works. Leaders need to make decisions that impact multiple departments, understand trade-offs, and communicate with executives who think in terms of revenue, customers, and competitive advantage. So, what does business acumen actually look like? Step 1, understand your company's financial drivers. If you work for a subscription business, you need to understand churn rates, lifetime value, and what affects customer retention. If you are in retail, learn about margins, inventory turns, and seasonal patterns. If you are in consulting, understand utilization rates and client acquisition costs. You don't need an MBA, but you need to understand what makes your company money and what threatens that revenue. Step 2, know your customers inside and out. Who are you serving? What problems are you solving for them? What alternatives do they have? What would make them choose a competitor? This isn't only a marketer's job. Every leader needs to understand the customer perspective because it should inform every decision you make. Step 3, understand your competitive landscape. What are your competitors doing well that you are not? What advantages do you have that they don't? What industry trends are creating opportunities or threats? Leaders think about competitive positioning, not only internal processes. Step 4, connect your work to business outcomes in every conversation. Instead of saying, I completed the quarterly report, say, I identified 3 trends in the quarterly data that could help us retain more customers. Instead of, I updated the training materials today, say, I revised our training materials to address the top 3 customer complaints, which should improve satisfaction scores. And finally, step 5, learn to translate your work into business impact using clear, simple language. You don't need to use fancy business jargon. You need to explain how your work affects the things leadership cares about, saving money, making money, or improving customer experience. When you present ideas, quantify them in terms everyone understands. This process improvement could save us 10 hours per week, or the customer feedback system could help us spot problems 30 days earlier before customers get frustrated. And here's how this changes everything. When you understand the business, you stop sounding like someone who only completes tasks and start sounding like a strategic thinker. You ask questions that make leaders notice you. You start proposing solutions that make financial sense, not only operational sense. Instead of saying, we should automate this process because it's tedious, you say, automating this process would free up 15 hours per week that we could redirect to customer-facing activities, potentially increasing satisfaction scores. Most importantly, you start speaking the language that gets you invited to bigger conversations. When executives discuss strategy, they consider factors such as market position, competitive advantage, and financial impact. If you can contribute to those discussions intelligently, you become someone they want to have at the table. So start with this. Before your next team meeting, review your company's latest quarterly results and prepare one thoughtful question about how your team's work connects to business objectives. But don't stop there. Make this a monthly habit. Read the quarterly earnings calls, review industry reports, and pay attention to what leadership mentions in company communications. What challenges are they highlighting? What opportunities are they excited about? What metrics do they reference most often? This information should inform how you talk about your work and what projects you volunteer for. The goal is to become someone who thinks like a business owner, not simply an employee. And there you have it, my friend. The real reason your hard work isn't getting you promoted. While you have been perfecting your execution, others have been honing their skills in visibility, leadership presence, internal networking, strategic thinking, and business acumen. Remember Sandra from the beginning? Within a year after we had this exact conversation, she got the promotion she'd been working towards for 2 years. Not because she started working harder. She was already doing that, but because she started working strategically in these 5 areas. Here's what I recommend you do right now. Look at these 5 areas that we discussed today and honestly assess which one is your biggest weakness. Where are you losing ground to less qualified people who are getting ahead of you? Then pick one area to focus on this month. Don't try to fix everything at once. That is a recipe for overwhelm, and it might just end up being another reason that keeps you stuck. Finally, commit to one action step from today's episode, whether that's making your next win visible, speaking up strategic in a meeting, or building one new relationship. Just pick one thing and do it this week. Because here's what I know for sure. You deserve the promotion you've been working towards. You have the skills, the work ethic, and the potential. What you have been missing, my friend, is the strategy. And now, after this episode, you have it. If this episode opened your eyes to why you have been stuck, I would love to hear from you. Send me a message on LinkedIn or Instagram and tell me which area you are going to tackle first, because your career breakthrough might be just one strategic shift away. Until next Thursday, my friend, I am Keely, reminding you that great communication is the foundation of inspiring leadership. Keep learning, keep growing, and remember to communicate to lead.